Today on the WTF is Crypto Space podcast, we talk about the Australian government sponsoring cryptos. We talk to our guest from CanYa and we announce the winner of our competition. All this and more on the WTF is Crypto Space podcast. Stay tuned. You're smart. You know how to listen to suggestion and make your own decisions, right? We're just two Aussie brothers talking shit about cryptocurrency. So do yourself a favor, research the topic before doing anything financially. Now for that banging intro music.
Welcome to WTF is Crypto Space. I'm Brett.
And I am Chad.
This podcast is all about the crypto space.
Crypto Space shout out. Boom.
Chad, huge week this week. Massive. We have contributed so much.
Yes, we did. We had a good around the world kind of grabbing in of attention, ears, and crypto space enthusiasts.
Oh, so we've got a few USs. We've got Edgewater and New York and Columbus and Indian Trail and Stoke Newington and LA, Dallas and Grantyville. We've also got some peeps from Melbourne, Australia. Thanks for joining us, guys. Nice local.
Whack, whack.
And
hell yeah.
some Singapore.
Bam, represent.
And, Stone Newington from UK. My bad, not US.
UK, that's fine. We all make mistakes, and that was one of them. So today we are wishing you all a happy Valentine's Day. And if you're listening to this early, run. Do not walk to the shops and buy your partner something. Anything, you dingbat.
We're releasing this early enough, guys, as a public service announcement.
Absolutely.
But on that, we also have a competition winner, Chad. Thanks to all those people who left a review throughout the world.
Thank you, guys. You guys are rocking. Brett, I have a massive hat here full of all these massive names because we wrote them in. I don't know why I chose the biggest possible marker of all time, and I found some stupid.
Show us
top
the hat, Chad.
Hang on. There we go. It's on the table. All right, here. So there's some funny work for everyone out there. All right, we're going to pull a name out of the hat, Brett. And Brett, please make some noise.
Woo!
Hang on. We'll go washing around. Hang on. And the winner of the prize to have spend an hour with us, which you could call that a prize if you wanted to, is Giuseppe Razzelli.
Yeah, Giuseppe's from London, UK.
Giuseppe, welcome to the family. I guess I don't know why, but well, we're going to be talking. We're going to find you in the Facebook group, guys. Thank you so much for giving us a written review and sharing this with your friends. Hey, don't worry, we're going to be holding some more competitions with some other prizes, more and more this year. You'll find out on our new website.
It is awesome. Chad has done a brilliant job. WTFcryptospace.com. WTFcryptospace.com.
It is our alpha beta 1.0, so it's got I don't know terms. I just know how to invest in the crypto space, but we have it there. So guys, go in there. We will have a competition section. We will also have resources and stuff. At the moment, we just got all of the episodes up there.
All of your favorites are back there. You can choose anyone in any order,
and you can
guys.
share them. You can share them from there and have a chat.
Absolutely.
And,
there's all the socials. Our socials are there. Click on them. Say hi. Drop us a line.
You can now just go into your favorite episode and just go comment. This was a good episode. Please be positive because I have a very, very thin skin. Anyway, Brett, we're going on to topics today.
Oh, good. Hit it, Chad.
Topics for today is Australian government websites hacked to mine cryptocurrency.
Oh.
And, yep, wait, don't get there before I say the next bit. We also have an interview with a gentleman from CanYa, Suryanata Wongtomo. He is going to be talking to us today, past us. But before we get there, let's do this one now. There's a gentleman from the UK. His name is Scott Helm, and let's just be honest, he was at the helm of this story. He went on the source code of the website ICO News. It's a government website in Australia. And he was like, oh, I guess the Australian
I think they call this
trying to get
cryptojacking, Chad.
in the crypto. Sorry?
They call it cryptojacking. It's a new term.
Cryptojacking, because apparently it's happening enough to have its own bloody name. Now, this gentleman is an information security consultant, blogger, builder of things. He's from the UK. He went on the website, checked it out, and found out that they're mining. They're using the government website. So at least our taxpayer money is making other people rich.
I just saw this one and I clapped like I was in public at the time. And
You were in, I was going to say, you're in the middle of public.
people were looking. But I tell you what, I just saw this one pop up and this was brilliant.
So if you want to follow this bloody genius who went and exposed some stuff, he's on Twitter at Scott_Helm with an E, because let's be honest, he was at the helm of this discovery that our taxpayer money is making people rich. Brett, let's not dilly-dally anymore. Let's get into it. We're going to talk to a gentleman from CanYa. The next voices you're going to hear are three people from the past. It was Brett, it was me, and it was Surya talking about cryptocurrency. Ladies and gentlemen, we're sitting with Surya Wongtomo, mate. We want to know just a bunch of stuff about you. So this is going to be the first question. What led you to become involved in the crypto space?
I got involved in the crypto space from one of my friends' room. Sitting there about 7 years ago, and I read a technical article regarding Bitcoin. I have a background in information technology, so that area has always been of interest to me. But I've also had decent interest in economics and how things go, despite that not being my primary study back in uni. Bitcoin itself was very fascinating because you now can merge a lot of concepts together, and the design was quite elegant. Particularly with people talk about decentralization of information that came with the internet. But until Bitcoin came about, your money was still very decentralized, especially in the digital world. You can hold cash, you can hold gold in your home if you wish to, but all the rest of your money that you hold online, PayPal, in your bank account, they're all controlled by someone else. Cyprus went through one phase shortly after Bitcoin became apparent, was that if you owned more than, believe, $120,000 at that point in time, basically it's like they said that they were going to just take some money out to fix the economy. A lot of people were not very happy about that.
Yeah.
And coupled with the fact that in 2008, in the global financial crisis, a lot of people felt that they didn't really have control. The banks were being bailed out. The people who owned responsibly owned their houses got absolutely destroyed.
There was just so much chaos and stuff, and I'm guessing that was one of the biggest moves towards something like cryptocurrency.
That's correct. But at that point in time, it was very immature. People didn't really know where this particular field was going to go through. I would be incredibly surprised if anyone remotely even came close to describing what we are today. But it's the same thing as the early stage of the internet, right? We didn't know where it was going to go. So that was another reason to me is fascinating, right? It was literally opening a can of worms. Like people when the internet first became sort of more commercialized in probably early 1990s, before the early 1990s, before the World Wide Web came about, people have a lot of thoughts of what it was going to be like. Even when the World Wide Web came about, people also had a lot of thoughts, right? Because of all these components, it fascinated me. But the big things about economics was the fact that it was not centrally planned, right? There was no singular governance structure to actually say what was going to happen to Bitcoin. Proof of work was a lot of people would say now an obsolete mechanism, but it was an economically very beautiful mechanism. And I felt it was interesting. I was drawn to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, ourselves included.
Yes.
So tell us then a little bit about the current areas and projects you're working on, because you've got a couple of things that you do across, and tell us about what you can mention.
I currently, for the most part of my time, work with a bunch of very, very, very smart people in a community that I would prefer not to mention. But we are slowly professionalizing ourselves in a sense that you will probably see us coming out. If the market goes well, we will come out probably as a think tank / advisory group.
Fantastic.
That's probably one of the main things that we're working on. The other thing I'm working on is probably that with the maturization of this particular market and the interest coming from old money, I felt like there was a bit of an opportunity as a person with very strong user experience interest to try to actually bring them in. It's the same reason as when people look to the internet, right? You want everyone to use it. In the early days, it was hard. It was only for the techies. It was only for the younger kids. People have time. But now even your grandmother, right, can use it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Swipe right.
Yeah.
Oh, no, wait, wrong guy.
Well,
wrong
no, hang on. That's young people. You mean use your cane to try and find the phone under the couch? Yeah, that's what you're saying.
So the gist of the idea is that there are a lot of people who have a lot of funds, and we're not talking about just simply, your typical retirees with maybe a few $1 million. We're not thinking about that. We're thinking about people who are in position of power. Think board of directors of financial companies. I want to try to actually bring them in through easily. This is for two reasons, or perhaps maybe three. The first single reason is the fact that these particular people, they are easy to serve as customers. Yep. If you can note that a lot of the major companies that deal with retail customers as exchanges, for example, it's very difficult. My project basically tries to think private banking, but within the crypto space for them. Okay. It's easy to deal with, that's number one. Number two, it's incredibly, their ability to move projects, it's very useful. You see that people talk about partnerships as being very important. I'm not just there to, in a sense, say broker Bitcoins of them or introduce them to ICOs, because part of the reason is that they don't have the time, right? But they have the capital. But imagine if I have a good conversation with them and there's this very awesome ICO projects that suddenly now, let's say this person could be from the superannuation space. Imagine the amount of conversation he's going to have, right, during Easter with his family, with his friends.
Absolutely.
This is why I think it's a good project, and I'm trying to actually see if this can be done in a much more proper and formal manner. The issue here is that you see a lot of the services that's being given to retail customers, ASIC to a certain extent is turning a blind eye towards a lot of the financial services requirements. Okay. Australia is not very heavy-handed. The only important thing that is coming up is that all exchanges, brokerages will need to register with Austrac as a reporting entity. The big difference for us is that because we're going to deal with a lot of money, we need substantially much more licensing mechanism involved, right down to the point where we are definitely thinking of getting an AFSL. Great. So to do this entity. So it's not something that's going to be fast, right? And obviously from that private banking was there another project that could reason out of, which I'm very interested as well, is simply a hedge fund or a passive index fund that tracks crypto and so forth. The passive index, a lot of people are very interested in the space. I've spoken to about 5 to 6 people. I personally don't think it's also the best opportunity cost fund-wise, but I know a lot of people within last year, they've made, we're talking about last year Ethereum basically rose 8,500%. About there. I've known people who did 50,000. Right? And coming in, to me, is more like, as you can see with all my previous other aspects, the incentive align very strongly.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, if people give you money, you have to, they want to make money.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So those are some of the projects that's in. I think a hedge fund is very interesting because I think there's a lot of projects nowadays, they are just really rubbish.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just don't have the time, particularly these high net worth individuals. And getting them right onto the right side of crypto, instead of them being burnt, is very important.
Yeah,
because likewise, if they invest in crypto into a crappy project and they get burnt, the next thing you know, they're going to talk to other rich friends, and some of them might be in position of power.
Yeah,
to
and
influence.
That's correct.
To influence
Changing the
particular
crypto space,
laws
yeah.
as well against it all.
That's exactly true. What happens next when they come in and they talk to some regulators, and the regulators themselves become much more hostile towards crypto? It's not a good space you want to be in.
Nope.
And there's going to be a lot as we move from the innovator phase into this early adopter phase, as we bring in these people.
That's correct. I won't be surprised, particularly if within this, I'm going to receive some criticism. First of all, I'm a very pragmatic and a huge moderate, right? In a lot of decisions that I do. I am. So a lot of people might think, why are you working with, the institutions, the money, right? The people that's out there to screw us. Truthfully, in a lot of ways, some people might be like that, but most of the people, they are just rich people and they just want to earn more money. And not everyone's out there to get you.
No.
Actually, I had a quote from a guy called Penn from Penn and Teller, the magicians, and he said that there's 7 billion people in the world and about 7 billion people are good. So, there's only there are a few people that are out to screw you and don't have a conscience. But, in the long run, most rich people are kind of like, let's just make a bit more money. That's all. And this is a great opportunity for them to do so.
Absolutely.
So, now you're a part of CanYa. Can you explain what the company is and then also the economic model of CanYa?
So, in regards to as a product itself, CanYa is very simple. So users now, a lot of there's a big gig economy going on,
yes.
But they are all very dominated by companies which are worth quite a fair bit of capitalization. So they're big. They have a lot of say in, for example, how much the fees they're going to put. Yep. And it's not a very democratic process. CanYa basically aims to try to remove all the fees beyond what's operationally necessary, and in effect return, in a sense, the value through the reduction of fees. How part and parcel of this is achieved for a lot of users is that we basically get a lot of community to engage themselves. A very simple one is arbitration. We don't do it. We let users, which here comes back to a fun point when I said about economic incentive. If you incentivize people the right way and also watch out for malicious actors, they are no perfect system, but we try to do the best. Things generally turn out all right. Yeah. And a way is just basically we can give out arbitration to 10 people as a jury, and it's fair, right? Yeah. It's like, and you can say one person might be trolling around. We know he's trolling around. If it's 10 people, we'll kick him off.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And the question then becomes what does the token holders hold out of this, right? Number one is that if you have a lot of users using CanYa, their tokens will be worth more. The other simple aspect is just the fact that if you read Vitalik's blog, if you don't burn your tokens, there are some questions in regards to why would you want to hold it long term. Tokens used in most ICOs without being burned, they are used there as a currency, but they are not a very strong store of value. So we add a burn function so that people who are holding it for whatever reason, either through inefficiencies, either through even laziness, right? You didn't convert it. You can at least come back a few years later and say that the values, would increase. I would say that the burn functions is also, we're not there to, in a sense, use this as a pump. We have to be very careful of how much, we are deflating the market. But this is one way we can return the value to the holders very fairly. Yeah.
So what mechanism do CanYa use to create trust?
The simple thing here is that in the future, when the platform becomes substantially much more mature, your funds will be escrowed. in smart contracts. That means, unlike, say, a company, we can't lose your money for whatever reason. Obviously, even in the traditional space, most of the funds are actually put aside anyway in a trust account. But in this, but you require, for example, auditing to ensure that the funds are, the company spends it responsibly and so forth. In a smart contract, simply put, we can't touch it. Right. The other aspect is that we would have a lot of avenues to let our communities engage. So that builds a lot of trust in regards to how your funds engage with the system. An example is that it's under escrow. So if anyone has a dispute, obviously one of the issues with, say, using credit cards is that as a merchant, someone can do a friendly chargeback onto me.
Yes.
Right? And for the listeners, that means that I received my item, but I'm being malicious, and I call my credit card and said that I didn't receive it. Right? That's a very complicated issue, and more often than not, a lot of people on eBay have complained that PayPal basically just sides with the users most of the time, right? It's not very nice, but most of these particular merchants, they don't care because they operate on volume, so they basically hope people don't screw them over. But imagine if you are, say, for example, in a realm of, say, you're trading, right? Yeah. You can't do that. No. Right? So what happens if you have a bad customers? The community can step in and arbitrate, just like a jury.
Right.
So we pick a lot of concepts of basically like from decentralization, obviously, but as well as the idea is that it's a bit of a pseudo economics of scale, and when you do this. And with the correct incentives, everything tend to align on the right spot. I think that creates a lot of trust because you don't need to actually rely on anyone. The other final thing is basically the company tries to be very transparent. We take a lot of the engagement from our community, but truth be told, every company says that, right? Yeah. But that said, the result is what is shown. Yeah, most people have been very pleased with how CanYa engage with the community and have not think that I don't think we've actually had a reputation anywhere that I've read for people calling us greedy, which is quite a common thing that's been labeled in the ICO space.
Yeah. Like you said, there's a lot of trolls out there.
You're right, past Brett. So many trolls.
Yeah, Chad. We are going to continue that crypto conversation next week. We cover his work with CanYa, his work with ASIC, shitcoins, and his pro resources. Tune in next week, guys.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Like us once and comment in the chat below. Also on the website. Brett, we have a Twitter.
WTF Crypto Space.
Brett, we have a Facebook group.
Crypto Space. And can I slot in here, Chad? We also now have a website.
It is WTFcryptospace.com.
Well done, Chad.
That is it, right? I have been editing it. I just didn't look up. Also, click subscribe to this podcast to get your weekly podcast updates from us knuckleheads. And you'll get it in your podcast feed every Wednesday, 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. But until next time, I'm Chad.
And I'm Brett.
Let's get excited about the crypto space.
The transition has begun.
CanYa, ba ba ba. CanYa, ba ba ba.
CanYa.
Can.
I thought we were going there.
Oh, okay.
I thought this was like a dance number.